Hi, what is up? How's it going? And you know what? It's going pretty well today. This is, Pancake Marathon, where this is how I carry my message. You know, I'm here to practice the steps, not perfect them. In a sense of saying, I think probably the simplest way of, you know, uniting, finding that unity, essentially, of spirituality is seeing that the perfection within you is already there. You're already perfect, right? And in a sense of saying to kind of give, context of how did I get to that point? Sure, it's about, the new character. Okay. Upon, that of, finding that I am not the ego, right? I am not here other than this experience, essentially to say, I comprehend and I'm empathetic and compassionate, essentially simply to say to the aspects of, well, those that are just so willing to hold the space for that of, this human experience, right? To where all they take is the face value of what they can see, you know, and it's not that it's funny. It's just that, science, unless it's changed, essentially to say, has stated that you only see 95% within the 5% of light spectrum, right? And let me reword that because I was going to say that you only see essentially 5% of the light spectrum, and the other 95% you don't necessarily interpret through your eyes, the physical ones at that point, you know. And so it comes to that point though, of emitting, right? That, how I like to phrase it is that I don't know what I know to know what I don't know. Now, there's parts to this, because some would say, what? You think that there's another way of saying stoppable is just another way of saying stoppable? You're weird. You're weird, and your keeper keep on going because I have crayons for you, you know, and it's just a funny way of saying, essentially that, for them, like for my interpretation for them, because it's all about giving freely what I have, and this is what I have. I'm always finding a way to admit that, hang on, I need to reflect. Hang on, that this moment, this situation, essentially is not everything. It's just, yes, it's not that it's not inconvenient because there are points to where it is completely 100% inconvenient to where essentially if I'm looking it from just the pure state of ego, it's not that it's inconvenient. It's that I am not happy, right? That it is not the way that I want it. Okay, that's what it is, right? And it's like, my massage therapist, because there's points, right? Like how it says the therapeutic value of an addict communicating to another addict, the peer support aspect of itself, you know, as 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 in a sense of simply saying the therapeutic is touching on the communication aspect. And 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 so so why am I bringing that into the context of a therapeutic value and the massage therapist, where they're communicating with my body, right? And in the sense, it depends on what in is happening in the situation, right? Such as um that, oh my goodness, where was I going with that? Oh my goodness, that whew, essentially, um, that it comes to the simple fact of, when you say, oh, that's okay, or, it is what it is. There's a sense of saying, if you felt that energy shift right there, of saying that, yes, it is what it is a way of non-judgmentalness to itself. You're just letting it be, but you're also saying to the universe that does not play in a sense of how they interpret, in a sense of saying, of the human harmony aspect of not being so serious. Essentially, to say the universe is very, uh, you say what it is, and that's what it is. You know, in a sense of saying, when you say, oh, it is what it is, you're just saying, oh, it's okay. I will accept that abuse, in a sense, a simple way of saying, or I will accept that's the way that it is. A sense of saying, within that of bringing forth the unity and the retrospection of, legalized aspects of things. When you say you understand, that's the same thing. You're standing under, you're holding up, and you're basically agreeing, even if you acquiesce, which essentially acquiesce is it doesn't matter if you're saying no, because you're not saying anything. You're just letting it happen. And so then that highlights the aspect of the stupid question, which to me, simply to say, the only stupid question has the answer of no. You did not have to, you know, essentially close mouth, don't get fed, in that sense. And so it's like, what exactly is going on? You could have said anything. You could have said anything at any time, but you just let it happen. And then somehow you get through your reservation, right? Of oh, this is how it's going to happen, right? In recovery, reservation is kind of in a sense of saying, your expectation that's already happened, your experience as it is, was, or what may be. You're making, in a sense, your past into your future, and that is no future at all. Essentially, to say, from just a comprehension of that context, that it's no future at all, within the same concept of how that slogan is, that if your alcoholism, simply to say, is a hopeless body, state, and mind, basically, so everybody basically has alcoholism. It's just, in recovery terms, that's what that is, simply to say. And it's just a more convenient way to streamline things to getting to the next thing, because we all comprehend. Unless you need to be taught, there's a point where everyone's being preached at, reminded, essentially, even if it's from yourself, because you're unifying the thought process, essentially, and comprehending what's what, basically, the God of your own understanding. And that's why I know that no one can God shame you. No one can tell you you are wrong in your understanding, essentially, from the simple fact of, when you don't attempt to justify it, of your actions, which instantly, is synonymous with unjustified, especially when you're approaching it from the ego standpoint, right? You know, and so, you know, through your reservations, then that leads you to expectations, which essentially in recovery, you know, can highlight through the ego aspect, of just unrealistic expectations. Absolutely, it truly, truly is. And so, when it's unrealistic, basically you're demanding everything. You're becoming a good narcissist, right? You're attempting to act like you're an alpha, and alphas are only good at being a narcissist, right? Neurotic, because if they don't get their way, talk about being childish, through fear mongering, what? It doesn't matter what hood you're in, adulthood, childhood, manhood, wearing a hood, right? On the block in the hood, it doesn't matter, right? We all, in a sense, aim for, being a man, and don't get it twisted when I did not highlight a woman, because that's the same thing. It really simply is. Why are you making it so complicated? Oh, because you want your ego to be highlighted and justified in what you want to say of who you are at that moment, of how you justify yourself. And so then, because I didn't highlight that, maybe in a sense of saying for your comfortability, right? But that's where expectations are a killer. Just like resentments are the number one indicator of you already relapsing, basically. You're already well on your way to relapsing, basically. And through the conversation that I've had with someone recently, that there's only, I used to say, because I heard it before, right, that there's three sobrieties, right? The physical, the mental, emotional, which those are on the same playing field. And then we can say that they're, some could say, because that's how they find unity in their peace of mind, the God of their understanding, right? To saying that there's four sobrieties at that point, because emotional and mental are not the same thing when you do the four baseball, or you do the baseball thing, right? The four bases. And then the third in my thing, and the fourth in that thing, or the baseball scenario, of is that of spiritual sobriety, right? And they said, well, that's not, you know, they didn't verbatim this part, but essentially it's not preferable to say it that way, because it's a threefold disease. It's a dis-ease. You're not at ease. So you're distance from ease. It's dis-ease, right? Okay. Um, and they didn't say that last disease part, but essentially they highlighted that it's a threefold disease, right? It's has something absolutely about your mental, or your physical, your mental, and your spiritual, right? Which all lead and tie into being one thing, right? Unity. It's always what it comes down to, and freely giving what you have, right? And not condemning things, right? Don't have such reservations that lead you into expectations, to then resentments, which is, a fancy way of saying anger, right? And then it would be then obsessions, which is just a fancy way of saying a worry, right? Why worry? You're going to get what you feel. I used to say you get what you focus on, which is still true. It's the same exact thing. It's semantics at that point, and just to highlight what semantics is, when you look it up, it's a word, a sentence, or a phrase. Basically, it's what you intending it to be, right? And so you do get what you focus on. You do get what you feel, right? From the spiritual aspect, you most definitely get what you feel. That's what you're focusing on. And so, if energy is everything, and just taking it from that science wording, right? Energy is everything, and energy cannot be destroyed. It can just change form, essentially to say. And so, from that standpoint, simply to say that it comes down to this simple fact, okay? That it is super easy to get focused on, I don't want to say the wrong thing, because that's not right. It's a duality aspect at that point. Without positivity, there will never be negativity. It doesn't work that way. You have to have both to have one, essentially. Okay, isn't that another aspect of as below, as above? And no one ever said in that sense that it could not be horizontal. Absolutely. If you keep on putting what you focus on, and you don't change the way you look at it, you don't change the channel, basically, you keep on attempting to change the outside and not change the inside, you're going to keep getting the same exact thing. You know how they say ignorance is no excuse to not know the law, even though they're really saying the civil right law, which is not the same thing at all as rights, yet it's what you agree upon, contracts at that point. And simply was saying, it's also in the spiritual standpoint, regardless if it's modern day or not, of spirituality, of you know, that it's the law of attraction, basically. You're never not focusing on something, simply to say. And you're always focusing on something. You can never not focus on something. That's not how reality works. Where in the physical reality of itself, the real world, basically, where rights absolutely and everything in man, in a sense of itself, and not men, thoughts, right, preside and are absolutely within that experience level of itself. To simply say that the real world, where the trees produce oxygen, life is easy and everything's provided. Yet those that are addicts at that point, addicted to society, because everything without moderation is an addiction, simply to say, um, to that them taking the face value, what they can see, the 5% of the light interpretation at that point. To simply saying, ignorance is nothing to do with your intelligence level. No, it's not that it derives from ignoring, essentially. For those that do etymology, or if you want me to say it proper, because that's how you unify your boxed in thinking of justified means of condemning somebody else because they're not as smart as you, right? Oh, did you know maybe they have emotional intelligence? Oh, okay. So maybe you don't. And then who's really the one that's interpreting it wrong in that sense of saying that you can condemn somebody, which has nothing to do other than you're not able to work on yourself, and they're highlighting things in you that you get to work on at that point, or not. It's up to you. Yet don't tell them that they're wrong in their thinking and God shame them, essentially, because that's what keeps their peace of mind. Don't be ridiculous. You're not that important at that point. You're fully fledged in your ego, and let that shit go. It's just energy on the go, essentially. Ego, right? E equals MC square. I'm just saying, right? Oh, okay. And yet, simply to say that it comes to the simple point of who do you want to be today, right? Who do you want to be? It's up to you. No one ever forces you to do anything. Just because they're a good talker does not mean other than that. You could act like you're a rock. You really could. If it's not seen as war aspects, where it's all fair and love and war, it's all the same. In that standpoint, in the real world, killing is wrong. Unless you're defending yourself or need to eat, killing is wrong. Absolutely. It truly, truly is. And yet, from that standpoint, if those in the real world see that you are attempting to act like a rock at that point, right? Yes, they will ask somebody to get to help you get back to getting back to giving yourself a chance to living life again, right? Because your alcoholism is, it is what it is. But what are you going to do from the standpoint of making progress in your interpretation of how you understand your peace of mind and stop beating yourself up? Absolutely. And leaving it better than you found it. Because if you can go ahead and approach it from a religious standpoint, acting like someone's going to come save you, until you realize the spiritual aspect in that is that maybe you're the one that comes save you. You're the one that led yourself into that pain. When are you going to lead yourself out of that pain? It is up to you. No one ever said you had to stay pain and be miserable and then act like you need company, because who doesn't need company, right? We have mirror neurons at that point and all that aspect of itself and all that good stuff, especially when you're encouraged not to think for yourself, and then you're just a good follower at that point, and really you're the problem. And a problem in recovery is thinking, your inability to comprehend the word serenity, a non-judgmental state, basically, to let go and let God. You're not there yet, and that's okay. But don't beat yourself up forever, because it happened. It's okay. Stop trying to change your past, your future into your past. It is what it is. It is what it is, and that's okay. Yet, when you realize that, that's just a moment of clarity that you have yet come to a point of realizing that it's okay to be okay. Hurt people hurt people, unhurt people unhurt people, but it's who you want to be. Are you going to leave it better than you found it? Or are you choosing to stay miserable forever long you want to? Because that's what it is. Be sad. Okay. Be happy. Okay. Those are fleeting emotions. They truly, truly are. If you want to keep on building your foundation on a quicksand, well, that's up to you. I'm not going to God shame you. I'm not going to tell you are wrong for the way that you think. That is wrong of me. And I am not any better than you at that point. Not that I am ever. We're all connected. We cannot do this by ourselves. We have to unify our ability. That's truly what is the difference in, simply to say the United States of America. That's the difference. Yes, everyone is a ruler, but because everyone is a ruler, everyone gets a say. Democracy, even though that's trash. Considering everybody votes against you to not live in a house for the rest of your life, not to go into a store for a month, any of them, right? That's democracy, and that's why it's trash next to a republic. Simply to say, yet, the point being is, who do you want to be today? Do you want to keep on staying where you're at? That's cool. And yet, do you want to morph magnanimously into who you want to be? Changing the inside to look and see things in the outside. I ask you this. Do you want to be the beautiful thing looking at everything as ugly? Sure, there's humility in there at a point, right? Or do you want to be the ugly thing looking at all the beauty? You can be both if you want. It's up to you. No one has the right to say that you're wrong. Everyone has the right to say, you can't hurt me. I'm going to defend myself. And yes, there are points in society where it's not that just in general, no one is out there to get you. They just want to eat today. And you know how they say in science or whatever it is the quickest way to something is a straight line. Oh, okay. So if they don't know how to prepare because they are starving, right? And they just need to eat because it's like in that movie In Time, right? Where that one character is running to the other character, their mom, at that point, right? And they didn't make it in time, right? And so, oh no, right? But that's a difference in the sense of what is Batman and Robin. At least Batman, at that point, never worked on themselves. And so they're condemning everybody because they haven't worked on themselves. And really, they are the villain. The Joker's really the hero at that point. So, it's up to you who you want to be. It has never been more than that, and it never will be less than that. It is truly who you want to be. Who do you want to be today? It's up to you. And yet, at this moment, life is life, and so I shall move forth and do something different. Really, truly, it is truly that magicness in that aspect of who I want to be today. And I know if I isolated from the moment of this podcast, none of this would be freely given. I would not be attempting to, pray, ask for relief from all of what I'm assessing about, if it is as such, and I would not be being of service. In the sense, if I don't put the work in to work on myself, which is my career, economic answer. Oh yeah, I work there. Yeah, that's what I do. But it's really, what? They just haven't asked me to leave. And I keep showing up. I don't know who's really winning here. Just simply say, my true career, my calling of what I want to do in life, my enjoyment, adding to the foundation, not built on quicksand. Always keeping a peace of mind, leaving it better than I found it, having a moment of clarity, having unity, right, is everything. Because I'm not that important if I'm an ego standpoint. Yet, if I'm approaching it that I'm perfect from the perfection within me, and I'm here to just perfect that and not condemn anything else, am I really doing anything wrong? Maybe I am if I'm staying there and I don't reflect on all the value and everything. When I'm in pain, I'm in pain. It's okay. But I don't have to go and justify hurting somebody else because that's who I am at that moment. Hurt. And that's okay. But what will I, and when I, and how will I find my why to what will I do to find that I am the one maybe to save myself, and that's okay. I love me and I love all of life. So, who do you want to be today? It's up to you. You know, your shoes do fit just right. You do deserve to take up space. I love you. Hug yourself. Maybe that's the first time I'm doing it. You can't see this? Oh, that's okay. Because it doesn't matter what you can see or not see. Because when you're not seeing, you're rushing. Where are you rushing to not see? I don't know. That's a funny joke though, isn't it? Anywho, I'm just jesting. Levity. Not resting on my laurels, my past actions. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, because we do this together. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I love you. Have an amazing moment of making it matter. Because you can make it meaningless. You can make it be mean in your actions. Or, in the sense of saying simply, you can make it matter. Smile now, smile later. Just smile. Be beautiful, because you are. Thank you.